What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel, back with another video for you guys. I told you guys in yesterday's video that I wanted to ride. I was feeling a little bit sick, so I couldn't ride in the last video. That's why I filmed a video in the garage. But for this video, well, I do feel a lot better, thankfully. I don't feel as sick. I'm like 90% healed, you know. I'm not as tired and achy and all that stuff. But I don't know if you guys can hear right behind you, it's actually raining like a lot. It's been non-stop raining the entire day, and it's, according to the weather app, it's not supposed to stop till like midnight or 1 a.m. So this entire day is gonna be raining. I think tomorrow also is gonna be all rain. So yeah, for today's video, I'm actually gonna be choosing in between, you know, I don't know if you guys can see the Ducati, it's right behind me, but dream bikes, choosing the ultimate dream bike, in my opinion. I already did that video with the V4S back when I had it. Well, technically, I did it after I crashed it. So yeah, this time I actually have all three bikes behind me, and I'm rating them on different categories to see which one is the best bike overall in a bunch of different categories. Also, I told you guys last time that 80% of people that watch my videos are not subscribed. Well, today it's 81% of people that watch my videos are not subscribed. So yeah, please, if you guys can subscribe to my channel. I try to post 5 times a week. I've been doing that for like about half a year now. And even when it's raining, even when I want to go out and ride, I'm like itching to ride. I'm trying to make content for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and if you do, please drop a like. We'll start with the R1M. To my left, a V4R right behind me, and we have the mighty Ninja H2. First category is going to be power, because, you know, let's start off strong, and then we're going to do usability. Let's do tech. Oh, let's do comfort, and last but not least, let's do looks. This is going to be very subjective, but let's do looks just for the hell of it. Ooh, let's do looks and value. So pretty shitty diagram, but you know, I'm trying. This is the best way to keep track of all the points. We're gonna be scoring these bikes out of 10, and in the end, we're gonna see which bike gets the most points, and that will be our winner. All right, we'll start with the R1M. So the R1M, power-wise, it's honestly one of the weakest leader bikes that they make. It doesn't have a lot of power. It's a very light, very fun bike to ride, but like my bike, after being with a 3/4 exhaust, so decatted, the bike comes already with titanium headers. After being dyno tuned properly and with an air filter and an exhaust, it only made 183 horsepower. Well, to the wheel horsepower. Well, the wheel horsepower. For the power, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, because almost any other leader bike makes more power than the R1. Very great track bike, and more power doesn't always mean you're gonna be faster. So, but for just in general power, like not power delivery, pure power, I will give it a 7 out of 10. For the V4R, I'd give that bike, for now, because it doesn't have an exhaust and a tune and stuff like that, I would give it an 8. That feels better than the R1M, if that makes sense. I just feel like the bike like keeps pulling more and more, like the power doesn't stop. Not as aggressive, because obviously it's stock. There's no exhaust, there's no tune, nothing. So the fact that it already like feels more powerful than the R1M, it doesn't have as much aggression, but like it does feel like, you know, the speed keeps on going. That's why I'm gonna give it an 8. It's not that much more powerful. I'm pretty sure when I tune in all that, it might be a 9, but for now we're gonna stick with an 8 for the V4R. Well, the almighty H2, that bike made 251 to the wheel with a full exhaust system and an air filter and a tune. That's literally it. I haven't built the bike, nothing crazy about that. I haven't built it because I don't really want to stretch the bike, so it's pretty wild that it made that much horsepower. Most leader bikes barely break the 200 barrier, and this bike just crushed that barrier. So we're gonna give the H2, like, I can't give it anything under a 10. So 10 for the H2 for power. All right, we're gonna go back to usability, and I think the R1M, between these ultimate dream bikes, is one of the best bikes for usability. As I said, it doesn't have as much power as the other bikes, which means that it's easier to ride. You know what I mean? Like, think about, if you guys do ride, think about when you rode a small bike like 300, 400, 500. Those bikes, you can go like hard on them and you're not afraid that you're gonna kill yourself or you're gonna break the law in like 2 seconds. So the R1M gets like a good rating on usability just because easy to use, you know what I mean? Like when I go out with it, I feel like the most comfortable and it feels like an easier bike to ride. Therefore, I'm gonna give the R1M for usability a 9 out of 10. For the V4R, that bike, I think it's pretty good at usability. The only problem with it is price tag, which goes more into value. Because of that price tag, you kind of like concerning for me. It's not like mistakes that you do, you know, but when you're street riding, sometimes some car could cut you off, something could happen. And if that bike gets destroyed, not alone it's like really the most expensive out of these bikes. If you're a little bit worried about that bike, it feels super light, super nimble, you know, it's so easy to maneuver and move around, which is also like really nice to ride around, because you know the bike goes where you think, you know what I mean? It's such a responsive bike, and it feels so good. And the power delivery, unlike the V4S and the V4R, the base V4, the V4R makes actually less torque, even though it has like a way higher RPM, but like that allows the bike to have such a like linear power band. It's not like, you know, you get on the throttle and it's just like all crazy and stuff. It's such a like smooth power delivery, but it just keeps on pulling. So like usability wise, it feels very like smooth, it feels nice, the quick shifter feels amazing. There's a lot of things about it that I really like, so I'm gonna have to give it just 1 point under the R1M, just because of kind of like that price tag. It's almost double the price of the R1M. The R1M MSRP is like 26,000, the V4R is like 40,000. So it's not double the price, but it's $14,000 more expensive than the R1M. Like, I don't want to ruin this bike, and that's why usability wise it gets 1 point under the R1M. So I'm gonna give it an 8. The H2, on the other hand, is definitely the least usable bike. You could manage that, like the throttle response, all that stuff. I've talked about it before. I have it set to an aggressive, kind of like when I tuned it, it's set to be very aggressive, but that's how I like it. But regardless, unless you keep that bike stock, it's an animal. It's a big, heavy bike. It's wider, so you're going through traffic, it's harder. The throttle gets like tiring to like have to manage that much, because it's micromanagement with that throttle because of how aggressive and crazy it is. So the least bike that I am comfortable riding, and I don't mean that about like physically comfortable, but like mentally, you know, like usability, it's way more demanding, way more engaging, and I like that. I think that's very fun, but like for regular use, I definitely think it's one of the least usable bikes, especially because you can't use any of that power on the streets, you know what I mean, without getting in trouble. It's a lot of bike for the street, and it's just not the most usable bike. But don't get me wrong, this is one of my dream bikes, and I absolutely love it. But for usability, it's gonna get a 7 out of 10. For tech, all these bikes have amazing tech. This bike has like 10 traction control settings, but it doesn't have as many of the other features that these bikes have. Like, 10 traction control settings, I'm pretty sure they have some sort of like stability and anti-slide, but these bikes doesn't have wheelie control. Unlike the R1M and the V4R, which they have wheelie control, they have like literally everything you can think about, slide assist, obviously traction controls. They have so many settings on that display. For the R1M, I'm gonna have to give that bike like a 9 out of 10, just because I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I know like, so for example, the BMW S1000RR, that bike has like more tech and stuff like that. That's why like it doesn't get that perfect score, because it is lacking on a few things. It's lacking on like, for example, like heated grips, stuff like that, like little things here and there. So I can't give it a 10 out of 10, but it has everything that I need and more, honestly. So I gotta give the R1M a 9 out of 10. Same thing for the V4R. Pretty much everything that the R1M has, the V4 has as well. And honestly, does it a little bit better. Like the wheelie control on the V4R is way smoother than the R1M, but the R1M does have electronic suspension, while the V4R doesn't, because the V4R is supposed to be the race bike, unlike the V4S. So I'm gonna have to give the V4R the same rating, a 9 out of 10. While the H2 probably gets an 8 out of 10, just because it doesn't have, it's more of a like raw machine, which is so nice about it. So it definitely doesn't have as much electronics as the other bikes, and that's why I'm rating it just 1 point under, gives it an 8 out of 10. Comfort, this is gonna be a fun one. The R1M is a very comfortable bike to ride. Out of the seating position, everything about it is just super comfortable, super fun, and I really enjoy riding that bike. I don't know why, but something about it, when I ride it, I have that peace of mind, because it is the bike that I ride the most, so that could be it. But like, I remember when I used to ride the H2, you get used to it as well, like all the time when I first got it. But still, like there's something about the R1M that like, when I want to go just on a chill ride, I always want to take the R1M, just because it sounds good, it has enough power, you know, it's just it feels right. The seating position is really nice. I barely feel like any pressure on any of my joints or anything like that. So I'm gonna have to give the R1M another 9 out of 10 for comfort. The V4R on the other hand gets a lot of like the heating issue and stuff like that. Like literally if you ride and it's not even burning hot, if it's in the like 80s, which is, you know, just warm, that bike is gonna get so hot if you're stopped at a light, a stop sign, anything like that. That bike is just gonna be extremely hot and it's super uncomfortable. The seating position is also like way worse. It's very like kind of angled, like you're so high up, and it's just, there's a lot of pressure on my wrist. There's a lot of like kind of like my back is always bent. It's just way more work than the R1M. And with the heating issue, I honestly can't give the bike more than a 7 out of 10 because it's definitely the least comfortable out of all of them to ride. I'm not complaining, by the way. These are sport bikes. They're not supposed to be comfortable, but still, you know, a lot of people kind of like supercars. You know, people buy supercars to just enjoy and drive around. Same thing with Superbike. So that's where I'm rating these bikes from, not rating them based on like, oh, for track or anything, like just daily usability just in general. H2, surprisingly, besides having that super aggressive throttle, which again, as I said, you can change that, you can manage that, is a very comfortable bike to ride. It's very stable. It feels like really good, especially on the freeways. It does require a little bit more work to like maneuver around, but just if you're just sitting on the bike and you're just cruising, it's such a comfortable bike. The only thing, as I said, is the throttle response, but that's something that I chose to have aggressive. So I think I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10, just like the R1M. Just because of, I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because like it would be nice to have like cruise control and stuff like that, like the ZX10 or S1000RR. So these bikes would get a 10 out of 10 in comfort if everything else checks out. I'm gonna give that bike a 9 out of 10. Oof, looks. Now this is a very tough one. This is very subjective, but I'm gonna rate it based on my opinion. So I've always been attracted to aesthetic looking bikes, and that's kind of why I started riding. I saw like bikes and I saw how they look and how they sound, and I was hooked. The bikes that caught my attention, H2, V4, back in the day it was like the ZX10, ZX6, and the 959. These bikes, I love the look of them. They kind of carried away to these machines, and I've always been obsessed with them. My two main dream bikes, my main number one dream bike was always the H2. Right after that, kind of like at number 1, 2 was the V4R, and right under that was the R1, well, let alone the R1M, which looks even better with all the carbon and decals and all that. So looks are very subjective, but I'm gonna give the R1M a 9 out of 10 because honestly I think it's one of the best looking bikes ever. The V4R, some might argue otherwise, but I think is the best, most elegant looking bike ever made. So I'm gonna have to give that bike a 10 out of 10. And the H2 also gets a 10 out of 10 because of how crazy and unique and futuristic that bike is. I mean, come on, from the paint to like just the logo to everything about this bike screams like I'm from outer space and I came here to destroy every other bike. So like it just looks like that, you know what I mean? And that's why I can't give it anything less than a 10 out of 10. Finally, value. Starting with the R1M, I have to give the R1M an 8. It's a lot more expensive than the base R1, you know? It's more by like $8,000, something like that. You can correct me, but something around that. It's a lot more money, and you get a lot of carbon fiber, you get electronic suspension, you get a tracker, so yeah, you do get it. The aluminum tank, you get a good amount of stuff, but like there's a lot of other bikes that offer more, in my opinion, for less, you know? So it still ranks high up. It's just not getting the most from that 26 MSRP price tag, you know, 26,000. I feel like for their kind of top bike, they should throw in more stuff into it. Like they should make it crazy. They should throw in like, I don't know, aftermarket rear sets, some more crazy stuff. I mean, I do appreciate all the carbon fiber. That looks absolutely phenomenal, and I think it's the only bike that comes OEM with that much carbon fiber, if I'm not wrong. I absolutely love that. You guys know I'm obsessed with carbon fiber. That's why I really love the R1M. But yeah, for value, I don't know, it's just some other bikes offer like pretty much similar stuff for like way less money, like the BMW S1000RR or, you know, other bikes like that, the ZX10. They offer pretty much the same stuff for like way less money. For value, I give it an 8 out of 10. The V4R gets either an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. This is like the Bugatti or the Koenigsegg of superbikes, the H2. And the V4R has that kind of, when I say by the Ferrari, it's like it has that badge where it's a Ducati and you're paying a premium price for what it is, you know what I mean? Not saying that it doesn't have like enough features or money put into it or anything like that, but I do think the price is a little bit steep for what it is. But again, you're paying for that brand, you know what I mean, for their history. You're paying for the amazing engineering. Like, there's a lot that goes into that bike. It's hard for me to give it a high rating, knowing that the V4R is $14,000 more than the R1M. That is a lot of money. You can almost buy another like base R1 or a base leader bike for $14,000. For that bike to be that much more expensive just doesn't seem very right to me, and that's why, I don't know, I'm like in between the 8 and 9 again, just like the R1M, 8 and 9. So I'm gonna just be fair and give it an 8, just like the R1M. As for the H2, I think, which might surprise a lot of you guys, I think this is one of the best value bikes ever. MSRP is $30,000. It's a little more complicated to get than these bikes. You can't just walk into a showroom and get it. You have to order one, blah, blah, blah. It's a process, and taxes, and if the dealership marks it up, whatever. But like, we're just talking MSRP. That bike is $26,000. The V4R is $40,000, and this is $30,000, which is $10,000 less than the V4R and only $4,000 more than the R1M. I think that's an insane deal. To get the fastest, most reliable OEM bike, it's a steal of a deal. And the fact that it looks like this, the fact that it's supercharged with all the character it has, like, I can go on and on about why this bike is such a like historic art piece in my opinion. You know, this bike is gonna go in time as one of the greatest vehicles ever invented. Mark my words, guys. You heard it here first. Or maybe I don't know, someone said that before, but you know, that's honestly what I think about this bike, and that's why I cherish it so much. So I'm gonna have to give this, the H2, a 10 out of 10. And just like that, I don't know if you guys wanna, these are the ratings. The R1M got a lot of like high ratings, but no 10s. The V4R got only 1 10, and the H2 actually got 3 10s, but it got marked low in like tech and usability. All right, we have the scores. We got in the last place, surprisingly, the V4R right behind me. I don't know, I'm trying to show you guys right behind the V4R. Out of 60, it scored a 50. It lost the most points on comfort, and it lost 2 points in power, usability, and value. Scored perfect in looks and scored almost perfect in tech. And in second place is the R1M, separated by only 1 point. The R1M beat the V4R by 1 point, and I think these bikes are going to be even as soon as that bike is tuned and with an exhaust and all that, because it's going to have 1 more in the power category, which makes it score 1 higher in the power category, which makes it even for with the R1M. But currently, as it sits, it's 1 point shy from the R1M. Again, this is the ultimate dream bike. This is something that you want to use on daily basis or as much as you want. It's not like as an art piece, or you know, that bike is $14,000 less. But if you want just one of these 2 bikes to use all the time, I would go for the R1M. It's just an easier bike. It's a better bike to ride on the streets. The V4R is just a track animal. It's an amazing bike. It just loses in the categories of like comfort and usability, because you know, it's not meant for this. It's meant to destroy on the track. And in the first place comes the beautiful Ninja H2, scoring 54 out of 60. It is ahead of the V4 by 4 points and ahead of the R1M by 3 points. It scored perfect in power, scored perfect in looks, and it scored perfect in value. Again, looks might be subjective, but I gave pretty much both these bikes a 10, and I gave the R1M a 9. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about looks. Like, rate these 3 bikes out of 10 in the looks category. The H2 literally lost only 6 points. The most it lost was actually on the usability. It got a 7 out of 10 just because, you know, it's not the most usable bike on the streets, but everything else about this bike, from the tech to the comfort, looks, value, power, is just like, it's such an amazing bike. It's really like hard to underestimate what Kawasaki built here. This is such an amazing machine, and I think it deserves the win. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, support. Again, it is raining a lot. I don't know if you guys heard it. Hopefully the audio comes out good because of all the rain and the cars driving in the rain. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, support the channel, please. I love all of you guys, and I love all the support. And I'm trying my best to post 5 times a week, as I was saying in the start of the video. So thanks so much for watching. Peace out and ride safe.